And welcome back to This Week. Bob is on vacation. It's time to tackle some of the political headlines with our panel. We have a full boat right here. Representative Brenda Gilmore, Democrat out of Nashville. Thank you, Brenda. Also, syndicated radio host Steve Gill and State Representative, State Democratic Party Chairman Chip Forrester. I thank you all for your time. You're getting double teamed here. Is that okay? You can handle it?
I'll try.
Because when I saw his stats as a UT basketball player, you've never been double teamed before.
That's true.
Never had to. Let's get to it.
No boxing one.
All right, let's talk about the state budget, just tied up a few days ago. Good, bad, and the ugly. What do you like? What do you don't like about it? What's your snapshot? We'll start with you, Brenda.
Well, I think there are a lot of good things in it. I was very pleased that we were able to protect pre-K. I think that that's so important. Along with Race to the Top, I think we're going to see really good changes in education in the next few years. I was glad that we were able to protect children who are dying at a very early age, particularly in the West Tennessee area. Some of those rates are compared to third world countries, so I was really pleased about that. And then we were able to tuck away $10 million for businesses, small businesses. I'm extremely pleased about that because most of the jobs are generated from small businesses, so I think that that will help us chop down that very high unemployment.
Go ahead.
I think the special session on education, as Brenda mentioned, was really one of the high water marks of the legislature. I mean, you saw really people on both sides of the aisle working together and passing really true bipartisan legislation. I think will be helpful. I think the biggest thing was kind of, as Senator Haynes mentioned, that they got out of this budget without raising taxes. And you look at states like California, Michigan, New York that are literally still battling billion-dollar budget holes. Tennessee was able to close the gap, get it done by digging into the rainy day fund, but by avoiding raising taxes. And I think that's a tribute, again, to both Republicans and Democrats who held the line, which is what Tennessee taxpayers wanted them to do.
If I could just say real quick, one of the things I'm extremely pleased about is we still maintain a healthy reserve. There's over $600 million there, which was more than it was when this administration came in. So I think that's a good, too.
Okay, Chip?
Well, I just think the race at the top dollars, the $500 million that Governor Bredesen applied for, we're one of two states in the country that received the $500 million in our efforts to continue bettering education. And that was, as Steve said, that was certainly the high water mark, and we're very proud of that.
As we read about this, so many states didn't even bother to attempt to deal with the unions
and
to try to get this. They left money on the table.
Well, House Caucus Chair Mike Turner led the charge in the House to work with the governor and the teachers union. Everybody came to the compromise necessary. These $500 million are going to be critical for education success in our state.
Yeah, it just boggles your mind that you wouldn't even attempt to try to go down that road. Let's talk about the governor's race. We are inside a month of early primary voting for the August primary, and there's three Republicans, and we know it's Bill Haslam, Ron Ramsey, and Zach Wamp, and then Mike McWhirter is out there by himself. Chip, let me start with you. Is this a good thing that that Mike's just out there just kind of laying in the weeds and let the other guys kind of fight it out, or does that hurt him because there's no buzz?
Well, first, he's not laying in the weeds. Mike is out traveling to all 95 counties, building his organization and working very, very hard. I see him from one end of the state to the other. But the important thing for us is that he can marshal those dollars necessary for the general election. And it's no secret that Republicans are out raising us. We have more boots on the ground. But Mike can keep those funds for the general election, which allows him to keep his powder dry. So we think it's a real benefit for Mike going into the general with as much money as possible.
Well, Steve, three people, this is not going to, there's going to be a lot of money spent in advertising from now, the next few weeks. And is there an October surprise, although it would be June or July, but is there something there that, because everybody is playing pretty nice right now?
Yeah, I think you're going to see things heat up, obviously, in the next couple of weeks. The question is, who do you shoot at if you're getting into that battle? You've got Zach Wamp, who really is trying to make this a Wamp versus Haslam race, kind of pushing Ramsey to the side. Whether or not he's successful in doing that, you'll be able to tell by whether or not you start seeing Wamp attack Ramsey, whether Ramsey attacks Wamp to try and knock that out and get into sort of a one-on-one with Haslam in the remaining days. I do think, and again, I've been a candidate. No candidate likes a primary. But I will say that on the outside looking in, I think it is a disadvantage for Mike McWhirter in that you don't have getting your game face on. All these Republican candidates are so much better than they were just a few short months ago because they've been through the crucible already of competition. That's going to improve them. Their name recognition, whoever emerges, is going to be higher. Now, they're going to have to heal any wounds that develop in the primary, but their name recognition is going to be high. Mike McWhirter has name recognition, but it's his dad's name, and his dad hadn't been on the ballot in 20 years. So I think he is missing out by not having a primary that the Democrats could coalesce behind.
Brenda, allow me to take this tack with you. You bring up a great great segue, Steve, is the fact that Mike McWhirter is out there, and you can look at his resume and say, okay, he's running on his dad's name, perhaps, and maybe that's an unfair way to put it, but people would say, all right, what has he done? Okay, he's going to get out there and explain that. What about a Bredesen endorsement over and over and over again? Because he's a vastly popular governor. Many Republicans crossed over in not one but two elections to vote for him. Wouldn't that be a really weighted thing for undecided voters to say, Bredesen likes him, I like him?
And I think that Governor Bredesen is going to be making a very strong endorsement of Mike McWhirter coming up very soon. I think that he wanted to get past this very challenging budget, and now that has happened, that he can turn his attention toward this race and do everything that he can to make sure that we get a Democrat voted in for the next governor. I wanted to also say, John, too, that I think that there's good and bad that we only have one Democratic candidate. I will agree on Steve. I'm beginning to do this more and more, and it's really troubling me. Troubling me now that
Let me check your pulse. You feeling all right? Okay. All right.
But
he's such a peacemaker.
I think it's good that there's only one Democrat candidate, so people who I guess support Democrat principles can put all their money behind that one candidate. Right. The downside, as I think, is that it keeps him out of the media. And again, we need him to stay in the media and keep his name recognition up so that he can get the message out of how much more positive programs that will be brought in with a Democrat
Let me
governor.
agree with Brenda. I hope that Governor Bredesen will come in and endorse Mike McWhirter heavily. He's not quite as bad with the political kiss of death as President Obama, whose candidates in New Jersey, Virginia, Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania all went down to defeat. But the governor literally went door to door in May Beaver's race 4 years ago in the state Senate. She won. His candidates lost. He has not been successful in electing state house and state Senate candidates. Pat Marsh in a special election down just south of Nashville a few months ago got elected despite the governor getting in. So he's not exactly a political powerhouse when it comes to endorsement.
Well, I think he's very good at fundraising, and I think President Obama is very good in fundraising, and both of those gentlemen can use their strengths.
I want to shift, and I'm sure Bob will cover this in the next few weeks as well. So we'll table that. The Gulf oil spill. Let's just talk about it, since if we get $6 shrimp, it's going to affect us right here directly. I pose this question to you: if President Obama could have a mulligan and go 60-some days back, right at the very beginning of this explosion, and could do things differently, would he take that mulligan? Would he do things differently, Brenda?
Well, hindsight, we can always set, what do you all call it, quarterbacking?
Monday morning,
when it's quarterback,
20/20,
you can always say something different. None of us expected this whole debacle to last as long as it has lasted. I think in the last few days that he has shown extremely strong leadership. The $20 billion that he's been able to coerce the CEO to put aside for those people who have been harmed along the Gulf shores, I think is absolutely magnificent.
You can argue coerce is probably not what he should be doing with public company or private companies. What do you think, Chip?
Well, I think it's very easy to armchair quarterback it. The real issue is, had he had the information that we have today about how much oil was coming out, he certainly would have taken a different tactic. I think he's taken measured steps to move in the right direction and did what Brenda said, requiring them to put $20 billion aside. And he's made it very clear that that's just a down payment on what's going to have to be paid to restore the Gulf Coast. And he's also taken the moment to raise awareness for the American people that we need to come up with a long-term solution to our dependence on oil and start moving in the correct direction for clean energy. He did that in the Oval Office, and I thought that was very powerful the other night.
Steve, you have the last word.
I think mulligan's the right term because he's played 8 rounds of golf since this crisis began 60 days ago. And I would disagree with Chip. He knew more than we were told and did less than he should have. His own EPA person, Carol Browner, was telling him in the days right after the spill that the reserve well would have to be drilled. It would not be till August or September till they would be able to stop the flow of oil, and they still did nothing. So it's not that he didn't know, it's that they didn't act. And I would hope that if he had a mulligan, he'd go back and do a better job.
Well, I think he's coming off the premise that before everyone is saying keep government out of our backs, or out of our back doors, and out of our neighborhoods, and out of our backs. So he tried to give BP an opportunity to take the responsibility. And that's exactly where it lies with BP. They were dishonest with us.
But the government was stopping the berms from being built to keep the oil off the shores of Louisiana, stopping the reserves from being done. The government stopped Bobby Jindal from getting the job done.
I'm getting this. We will continue this, but I appreciate the animated discussion. Thank you for tackling it, and appreciate your time. I hope you guys have a good week. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely.
All right. Gaylord CEO is our voice of the week. We're back with some of that and your comments. Stay with us.